Good evening. It's Tuesday, August 4th, 8:28 p.m. We'll take a look at worldometers, the latest numbers, and then look up at some reports that I put together. Look at the worldwide cases, where we're at. Officially, we're at 18 million cases, 700,000 deaths, with a third category that's irrelevant. This is severely underreported. These numbers are trash. We are way beyond all of this. There's just too much info showing that this is the best the world's countries can do, who have all failed in testing. So who knows what the real numbers are? But they're nowhere. They're way far. They're way beyond what these are. The daily cases graph, like I said, is merging into one giant graph. The daily deaths graph looks like it's about to start merging too, and that graph is gonna turn into this graph pretty soon. Now, what does this show? We thought at first that we were hitting a first. Well, America thought at first, or the world thought at first, that it was hitting one wave of deaths and then a second wave. If you look closely at this graph, we are at the beginning still of one massive wave. So look at the start. We have a little bump, right? It went kind of down and it went to this, and it's about to merge into one upward slant. We're at the beginning of wave one, according to the so-called official data. And the deaths, they they went up, they went down. They've been climbing since May, got June, July, and the graph will merge, and it's going to look like that. So now for today's numbers, all right, so Brazil number one. So worldwide, 254,000 new cases officially. Brazil number one with 56,000. USA number two, 54,000. India third, 51,000. Colombia fourth, 7,000. In terms of deaths, Brazil 1,394 deaths for today. USA 1,362 deaths for today. India 849. Now keep in mind, India uses HTQ, which has seen success. Without HTQ, this number would be significantly higher. South Africa 345, which I suspect is much worse because they haven't done really well with testing and a lot of things. And now we go USA, state by state. The USA is approaching the 5 million official cases. So number one state for new cases, Texas with 11,000, Florida 5,000 second, California third 5,000, Georgia fourth 2,000. In terms of deaths, the deaths just continue to climb. Florida 245 with first place, Texas second 205, California third 197, Georgia fourth 79. And the deaths are climbing in all the other states. Military did not report today. More veterans, a lot of veterans died, according to this. Prisons continue to go up. Navajo Nation going up. Now, I have a couple of reports to go through. So I'm low on money. I recently went to go get my old job back, but I don't feel it's gonna interfere with my reporting, because the government is lollygagging with the new stimulus relief, and I can't keep sitting here and waiting for them to make a decision. I need the money, so I took back my retail job. So good luck to me. So first we'll talk about Iran. So CVG report number 63. Iran officials exposed by anonymous leaks and whistleblowers. The number of SARS-2 deaths in Iran is 3 times what the government claims, investigation found. The government's own records to show almost 42,000 people died with SARS-2 symptoms up to 20th July, versus 14,405 reported by its health ministry. The number of people known to be infected is also almost 2 times official figures, 451,000 as opposed to 278,000. Iran has been one of the worst hit countries. In recent weeks, it has suffered a second steep rise in the case numbers. A level of undercounting, largely due to testing capacity, is seen across the world, but the information leaked to the BBC reveals Iranian forces have reported significantly lower daily numbers, despite having a record of all deaths, suggesting they were deliberately suppressed. The data was sent to the BBC by an anonymous source. The source says they have shared this data with the BBC to shed light on truths and to end political games over the pandemic. It includes details of daily admissions to hospitals across Iran, including names, age, gender, symptoms, date, and lengths of periods spent in hospital, and underlying conditions patients might have. The discrepancy between the official figures and the number of deaths on these records also matches the difference between the official figure and calculations of excess mortality until mid-June. What does the data reveal? Tehran, the capital, has the highest number of deaths, with 8,120 people who died with SARS-2 or symptoms like it. Qom City, the initial epicenter of the virus in Iran, is worst hit proportionally with 1,419 deaths. That is one SARS-2 death for every 1,000 people. Doctor whistleblowers in Iran have said Iranian intelligence is pressuring them to hide info. Initially, they did not have test kits, and when they got them, they weren't used widely enough. The position of the security services was not to admit the existence of SARS-2 in Iran. CG report number 64. More biosafety labs appear. Suspicions rise as to their true intentions. Egypt just announced launching the first biosafety level 3 laboratory in the Middle East. BSL 3 lab coming soon to Mumbai in India. China to build biotech research lab in Pakistan. Immediately afterwards, both the Communist China Party and Pakistan came under scrutiny after an Australian report. The report quoted multiple intelligence sources as saying that the CCP's Wuhan Institute of Virology had lent all financial material and scientific support to set up the secret facility in Pakistan. The Wuhan lab was providing extensive training on the manipulation of pathogens and bioinformatics to Pakistani scientists to help Pakistan develop its own virus collection database, it said. Pakistan acknowledges the existence of the lab, but refused to report, saying they aren't hiding any secrets. The Communist China Party also defended the lab. Exiled Chinese billionaire Miles Guo, one of the Communist Chinese Party and Xi Jinping's biggest enemies, and one of the Wu Mao's 50th Cent Army's biggest target, claims many more labs are being set up, including in North Korea and Iran. Guo claims these labs are really meant for creating viruses and that the targets are the United States and, quote-unquote, the Jew. As a message to the Jewish nation, Guo said, "Screw you, Israel." His last claim is that America and Israel are going to have to act fast and that behind these labs is the Communist Chinese Party. Despite his claims, he holds a strong influence within Chinese whistleblower movements and also supports Dr. Li Mengyang, though saying her revelations alone won't stop the Communist Chinese Party. Yeah, so Guo is a man that I'm never going to look more into. The fact that China, that the CCP hates him so much already tells you that this guy has valuable information to look into. And I mean, if when you're in a war, whatever the enemy is for, you're against, and whatever the enemy is against, you are for. I heard that from Malcolm X back in the 60s. CG report number 64. Some information on excess deaths edition. Excess deaths show how many more people died in Europe than expected from the previous years. These were not SARS-2 positive deaths. Despite that, the majority of these could be undetected SARS-2 deaths. England saw the largest increase in death rates in Europe, with Scotland seeing the third largest increase. Now, these are yearly. Yearly, all these areas in Europe saw significantly thousands more deaths than the other years. The Office for National Statistics says that Spain saw the highest peak in rates of deaths in Europe, but the UK had the longest period of above average deaths, and so overall saw higher death rates. By May 29th, the death rate in England was 7.5% higher than it has been in recent years. Spain's increase at 6.7% was the second highest in the country's study, followed by Scotland's rise of 5.1%. Wales and Northern Ireland both also featured in the list of hardest hit countries. The ONS analysis also looked on how individual cities were affected. Cities in Spain and Italy, like Barcelona, Milan, and Madrid, were harder hit than any city in the UK. But the analysis also shows the epidemic in the UK was more widespread than in other countries. 7 of the 15 cities with the biggest rise in death rates are in the UK. And definitely check out the link. The graphs will give you a better example. India. health groups and academics have asked the center in the States to reveal data on registered deaths across India to help policymakers and researchers determine how the SARS-2 pandemic has affected mortality. Death registration data will enable the calculation of excess deaths over what would be expected under normal circumstances. This will help quantify the impact of SARS-2 on death rates in real time and guide policy responses, the expert said. What this shows is the harsh reality that hundreds of thousands of excess deaths all over the world may be from SARS-2, either directly or indirectly. Thus, I'm telling you that Worldometers is no longer reliable, but it's all we have that's quote unquote official. Look into the excess deaths. You're going to find some things that are going to shock you. CG report number 66. Why are human T cells recognizing parts of SARS-2 in people that never had her? A new study led by scientists at La Jolla Institute for Immunology shows that memory helper T cells that recognize common cold coronaviruses also recognize matching sites on SARS-2. The research, published August 4th in Science, may explain why some people have milder cases and others, though the researchers emphasize that this is speculation and much more data is needed. Their analysis show that unexposed individuals can produce a range of memory T cells that are equally reactive against SARS-2 and 4 types of common cold coronaviruses. This discovery suggests that fighting off a common cold coronavirus can indeed teach the T cell compartment to recognize some parts of SARS-2 and provide evidence for the hypothesis that common cold viruses can, in fact, induce cross-reactive T cell memory against SARS-2. We knew there was a pre-existing reactivity, and this study provides very strong direct molecular evidence that memory T cells can see sequences that are very similar between common cold coronaviruses and SARS-2. Study builds on a recent paper which showed that 40% to 60% of people never exposed to SARS-2 had T cells that reacted to the virus. Their immune systems recognized fragments of the virus it had never seen before. This finding turned out to be a global phenomenon and was reported in people from the Netherlands, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Singapore. Scientists wondered if these T cells came from people who had previously been exposed to common cold coronaviruses, what Set calls SARS-2's less dangerous cousins. If so, was exposure to these cold viruses leading to immune memory against SARS-2? And one more, CG report number 67, Get America Back to School edition. That's sarcasm, in case you don't understand. On Wednesday, teachers in Georgia's largest school district returned to elementary, middle, and high school campuses to start in-person planning for the fall semester. By the next day, 260 district employees have been barred from entering their schools, either because they tested positive for SARS-2 or have been directly exposed to someone who had it. On Thursday, the first day back for students at a middle school in Greenfield, Indiana, a student who came to class tested positive. Within the first week of reopening, a school district in Mississippi reported its first positive case and identified 14 other students who came in contact with the sick pupil. By Monday, 2 more students had tested positive, the district said. After attending a 3-day retreat to plan the upcoming school year, 11 school leaders who serve campuses in Chattanooga tested positive for the virus by Monday. Across the nation, school districts have been struggling to find the safest, most effective way to return to class this fall, but spiking SARS-2 case rates, particularly in the Midwest and South, where outbreaks have been growing rapidly in recent weeks, have complicated the reopening process. As scores of employees at Gwinnett County Public Schools tested positive in the last week, hundreds of teachers reportedly reached out to the Atlanta Constitution Journal to share their experiences during the first week back on campuses. At least one teacher quit her job at Gwinnett Elementary School because she had no option to work from home, even though her district is starting the school year with virtual classes. Back in April, teachers were considered heroes. Ashley Newman told WAGA TV, or I guess WAGA TV, after she decided to leave her job. But that messaging has changed. Now, if you're not willing to risk your life by going into a business unnecessarily, then you're lazy. That's today's update. As the pandemic grows worse and gets busier, I get much busier, and I have a lot. I have so much to do now. It's I'm gonna be getting not so much rest and sleep, but I need to report as much as I can. I do have 2 main pastebins that I share with you guys. One pastebin has all the reports that I've compiled since I think February. And then I have another pastebin that has all the news, and it's just a lot. You can go on there, Control F, search subjects if you want to look at, say, effect on children, how the virus works, how it's attacks the blood, or there's a lot info here. I will be working on a third paste bin now to compile data from G News and Smoky Mountain, who have come into under my radar lately, and they have a lot of great information that is not mainstream here in America, and so there's a lot to do. I'm gonna be very busy. So thank you for watching. Share, subscribe, hit a bell, I guess do all that kind of stuff, and I'll see you tomorrow.